What's happening, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. I'm John, and I'm still hosting. But Stephen is back with us as a guest today. Stephen, how you doing, mate?
Doing fine. Fantastic weekend out with the boys on Saturday and then watch the game on Sunday there. So all in all, great weekend so far. Now on the Monday, looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. And we're also joined by Ross. How you doing, Ross?
Hi, I'm good, mate. Still recovering from the antics that Stephen's just sort of described. But I'm looking forward to doing this podcast after another positive result.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you guys, it's for people listening, it's like we all, as a podcast, all went out on to Glasgow on Saturday night, and I think we're still feeling the effects of that full day session today. But absolutely delighted to have you both with us. Stephen, obviously, normally you're hosting. You're still dealing with a lot of things, but you're able to. So I've just been kind of taking the reins at the minute, and you're still jumping on just to impart your thoughts on this week or the weekend's events. So let's just dive right into it, guys. Obviously, Sunday there, Celtic played Hearts in the League Cup, a 3-2 victory, which ultimately didn't reflect the dominance of the game in Celtic's end. Scoreline favoured Hearts a hell of a lot more than it should have. But just coming to yourself first, Ross, what was your thoughts on the game on Sunday?
I thought we played really well. Certainly that first half was absolutely incredible, really. I've watched, obviously, the last couple of games at home against Dundee and Jablonec, and when you're watching it on the telly, you get an appreciation of the how hard they're working in the press and stuff. But like the three of us were at the game yesterday, and I don't know if you'll agree, but I think you get more of a sense of it when you're actually there in the flesh. I just thought the work rate was absolutely unbelievable. I just love everything about this Celtic team right now. Maybe they've still got a wee bit of work to do on the defence, evidently, but certainly going forward and winning the ball back high up the park, it's stunning to watch. I could watch it every single week happily. And okay, we're conceding some goals at times, and they're no great, but we're still picking up the wins at the minute, and that's the main thing. And it's so good to watch. Kyogos, even Edward looked like he was working harder yesterday.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've not seen any highlights of that, but one of my uncle had told me that at half time, I think Celtic had enjoyed 83% possession of the ball in the first half, which is like unheard of, really. Usually something like 50, 60 at the most, but it was just it was an incredible first half, and it's very difficult to keep that intensity up. And there was a drop off in the second half, but when they did go forward, they still had too much for Hearts movement wise, and they just couldn't cope with us. And Hearts got they got the goal to make it 2-1 and get back into it. It was a bit of a mistake for Starfelt. I think he should just deal with that and clear his lines right away instead of try to take the touch.
Well, just
cost him. But
on that Starfelt thing, it's like I know if you were at the game, Ross, as we both were, but for where we were sitting, we were obviously up the other side, and by all accounts, it looked like Starfelt had the ball at his feet, and it looked like he went to clear it, and he obviously, Bhoys has stepped in and got kicked.
Mm-hmm.
And he's obviously, I mean, it is a penalty because Starfelt's wiped the guy out, but it wasn't really his fault because he was trying to clear his lines. And I watched the highlights back, and a lot of people online have kind of been like saying, "Oh, Starfelt this, Starfelt that," and being quite negative about it. But I mean, by all accounts, he went to kick the ball away. Boy stepped right in front of him. He put his leg out in front of him, taken the hit, went out, and he's won his team the penalty. But I don't really think. I think it's has to be so difficult. It has to be so hard on Starfelt for me for that, because didn't see him coming in, and like I says, he's meant to kick the ball away, and he's Bhoys is just stuck in front of him.
I mean, I'm only going with, I've not seen highlights, like I said, but I'm only going with what I've seen at the game, and I'm no I'm not slating him by any stretch. But he probably was, you have to say, slightly at fault, because I think he should deal with it quicker. But according to what I've seen in the flesh, it looks like he should deal with it quicker and just get rid of it. But it's one of the ones. He's took a touch. He's tried to get rid of it, and he's just nicked in front of him, and it happens. It wasn't it wasn't a glaring mistake, but it was a slight mistake nonetheless. But the game in a whole was just brilliant again, bar the couple of lapses. And I was sitting at the last minute. I'd put a bet on Kyogos any time in Celtic to win 3-1. And that goal goes in right. I was like, oh my god, man, that is just my luck all over the back. But I've thoroughly enjoyed the game and the atmosphere, and you just get that sense that all the fans are starting to get really behind this, the way we're playing, and it's great. It's a far cry from last year, and I'm now like, once a game's finished, it gets to the next day, and I'm like, hurry up for the next game to come, because I just want to see them playing the style of football that they're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just going back to what you mentioned earlier, obviously keeping that level of intensity up for 90 minutes is going to be really hard today. It doesn't matter what fitness level you're at. That amount of running up and down that pitch is going to take its toll on everybody. But it's you can see it's still very early days, obviously, but you can see the sort of direction we're heading in. And we've touched on it in this podcast in previous episodes, and we've said, I mean, Ross, I've been in firm agreement with you. We're actually going to do some teams here this season. And if you take into account the way, like you said, that first half, 83% possession, it's incredible. And if you're pinning a team like Hearts back that much in the first half, then, and I mean, on another day, we take our chances there, stop taking the additional extra touches. It's like you're sitting 6-7-0 at the end of the first half. It was actually incredible the way we were pressing them and how much of the chances we had. I just Stephen, just before I come to you, I just want to touch on the actual 90 minutes match stats. Celtic actually finished the game with 72% possession, 36 shots to Hearts' 5, 11 of those on target to Hearts 2, 14 corners. I mean, that just kind of sums up, like, 36 shots on target and 14 corners. 36 shots in total, 11 on target, 14 corners. And again, like I said, if you're taking if you're not taking the additional touches and some of the other shots come off, then I mean, the scoreline could have been ridiculous. But that just kind of shows getting the amount of shots off compared to what we were doing last season. It's drastic, and there's a very, very stark contrast between the two. Stephen, obviously you were at the game as well. What was your thoughts overall in the game?
I mean, I was at the game absolutely hanging, but I mean, it was a fantastic game. I have to say, before I get into the actual game itself, I thought the atmosphere was fantastic from start to finish. The crowd were bouncing, were singing songs, everyone was happy, everyone was cheering, singing, and I just thought that brought a positive atmosphere throughout the whole game. I mean, as you said there, like over 30 shots and 11 on target. Any other game, you could have won that 78-0. Obviously, we conceded 2, but I think you're right when you say we will give teams some absolute hammerings this season anyway. I mean, the game itself, bringing it back to the start, I was a wee bit concerned when he had Edward starting for the middle and Kyogos out the left. I didn't understand why he done that, but obviously in hindsight and stuff, it worked. But I hope going forward he sticks to putting Kyogos for the middle. Maybe that was because Christie was injured. I know Edward contributed with a good goal, obviously a good team goal and stuff, but that first half was it was amazing. The pressing was so intense. The back four, the two centre backs were basically over the halfway line, not just sitting on it, they were over it, and Hearts were paying back. There was no getting out, and the Edward goal was fantastic team play. It was built up down the left. Kyogos was involved with a nice ball to Forrest. Forrest puts it back, and Edward finishes, much like Kyogos did the other week there in the 6-0 game in the bottom corner. And then the Welsh goal, I thought was brilliant thinking. It was a quick corner kick, flipped in, and he headed it on. And then, obviously, who was it that gave the last goal? It's slipped my mind. Kyogos. And Kyogos, a brilliant bit of play by him because Hearts thought he was offside. He slipped back into position, and he just fired it past Craig Gordon. And by the way, Craig Gordon was a man possessed yesterday. A man possessed. he just wanted to save everything. He was shouting at the referee about the smallest things, and I think watching the thing as a whole, the concerning thing is that we can see the two shots on target, and this still scored twice. That happened last season. That's something that needs to be took out of our game. And in regards to Starfelt, there has been a lot of criticism of him. I do agree with you, John. But again, what's this? His third game, isn't it? His third competitive game, fourth game, maybe.
Still early days, yeah.
But I tend to agree. I'm not really that impressed by him. That's being honest. I think Welsh looks the better of the two centre backs, and I just hope that's maybe Starfelt settling in. I think he was a bit lackadaisy for the penalty kick. Bhoys nipped in front of him. As Ross said, he should have dealt with that quicker. And then the goal at the end was a sloppy play. I think that the heads were kind of gone in terms of they nearly won the game. Concentration levels were down because it was the final minute. But all in all, guys, I thought it was a fantastic day. It was great to be back. It was my first time back in about 2 years, maybe, I think it was. So it was fantastic, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as Ross said, I'm looking forward to the next game.
Yeah, no, definitely a absolutely fantastic game. I'm sure we'll agree, despite the result, which again certainly made it look more favourable for Hearts than the actual stats in the actual game itself suggest. For anybody who didn't see the game, just looking at the scoreline, will probably think it was a lot closer than it was, when ultimately it wasn't, and it was very one-sided. But yeah, the defensive issues obviously are something that we all know need to be ironed out, and like you mentioned there, Starfelt, for you, you're no confident in him. For me, like you said, it's only his third or so game, full game. It's still very early days. He's came into a new country, completely different style of football than he's used to playing. And these things, we need to be patient, because we can see he showed moments and glimpses where you can see that there's a defender there. His positioning is generally quite good. He's passing. He's had a couple of hiccups, but I think for the most part he's been all right. He's been all right, and he's progressed game on. And like I said, go ahead.
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking, as I said there, like I can understand the criticism. I tend to agree. Again, you're saying it's early days. I agree with that as well. The thing that concerns me the most when I was watching the Starfelt, he's very slow out to the ball. It seemed like the Hearts player was always getting there first, or he was giving fouls away, and then obviously the lackadaisical play led to the penalty kick. I'm not saying he's a bad defender, but he needs to sharpen up a wee bit, if you know what I mean.
Aye. But again, like you say, for me, it's still early days, and that'll still come. But we've obviously still got other guys to come in, and you'd like to think another centre half is going to be one of them, another right back. And once we've got all the pieces together, and he's had a few more games under his belt, like he's partnered Welsh a little bit more, and they've developed a better partnership, then I think we'll definitely reap the benefits here again. But I'm just trying to be positive, I suspect. But I'm just enjoying the football, man, personally, and I think we look absolutely great at the minute. One of the things I want to touch on, Ross, and I'm just going to come to yourself, is obviously the TV didn't really pick up on it. Watching the highlights and that like that, it didn't pick up on it. But if you were at the game, you seen the treatment of Kyogos go off the ball. And you could hear the crowd getting at the ref. I mean, the treatment of Kyogos off the ball. I don't know the Hearts boy. I think it was number 5 there, right back. Is that who it was? Like I says, but there was moments off the ball where he was kind of digging at Kyogos, and the referee was obviously he never seen it, but he was getting absolutely nothing for a while, and then somebody eventually got booked for it. But I mean, what? Just quickly, Ross, I don't know how much of that you've seen, but you obviously heard the crowd and their reactions to it, and the booing and everything else. What was your thoughts on the treatment of Kyogos, and do you think that people are going to continue to try to do that? Do you think that's through fear, because they don't know how they're going to be able to deal with him? Because let's be honest, he's going to give some of these defenders nightmares.
I mean, I was one of the ones that was booing, because I seen it on the 4 occasions that he was wrestled or manhandled before, and the ref didn't even speak to him. It was 4 times, and then I think it was the 5th time he booked. I don't know if it was the same boy it was doing it at the time, but he eventually booked somebody for it. But it was just actions. A man that's been given the runaround for X amount of minutes and can't get near him, and it's just basically I need to rough you up here to let you know you're in a game, because I can't get near you. certainly in a footballing sense, but it was just a guy trying to be physical, but he got over physical. Kyogos a wee guy, so he can sort of manhandle him a bit easier, if you like. But I thought the referee should have spoke to whoever before, like the fifth time, but at least in the end he did take action. But it's not good to see, but I think we'll certainly see more of that going forward in the season, because if he continues to play the intensity he does, and the defenders certainly in our league, I don't think have got the fitness levels of him, and they're just going to have to be more physical with him because of how well he is, like fitness wise and speed and all the rest of it. So it wasn't good to see, but I think we'll see more of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and obviously, Kyogo himself didn't. I mean, that kind of thing doesn't seem like it's going to bother him overall. I think he's going to need to. He'll be getting told. I'm assuming Ange and stuff will be telling him that defenders are probably going to be like that with him here. But I'm sure it's something he'll be able to cope with and deal with. I don't think it's going to faze him or scare him in any way.
Sorry, John. I was just going to say, as long as he reacts in the way he did yesterday and no get involved in anything, just hold his hands up in disbelief and then go and do his talking on the football park in a footballing sense, which he did yesterday.
Absolutely. For example, you mentioned the pass through to Forest.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely incredible. And the way he hit it, the accuracy, the weight behind it, the distance as well, to play it in front of James the way he did. And then for James obviously to cut it back for Edward to score. And then there was the goal itself, the Kyogos scored, which kind of just cemented the fact that I think we as Celtic fans have really taken to him and we all love him. I think there was very early on in the match as well, he hugged the referee. There was a wee foul in the box up at Hearts End, and I think the referee was giving him a wee talking to, and he just kind of gave him a wee hug. And there's a very endearing qualities to Kyogo, and I'm sure that, I think we can see it already that the Celtic fans love him. And like he says, but it's not just that. He looks to be the makings of a phenomenal footballer, and he's going to do absolute wonders for us. Stephen, just coming to yourself, obviously you see, like I says, maybe people who for those who weren't at the game, I don't know if there's any highlights packages or shown stuff like that, or if they managed to catch anything on the TV. But for those of us that were at the game, we all seen it, and it was like Ross touched on. That was a guy acting out of fear, because for me, he couldn't get near Kyogo, and like he was trying to rough him up a wee bit and let him know that he's still there, and maybe try and put him off his game. What was your thoughts on the handling of that by the referee?
Well, I'm sure Mr. John Beaton wouldn't have liked the hug anyway. He wouldn't have liked that, but I don't want to get into John Beaton himself because he'd be here all day. I thought it was a disgrace in the Hearts game.
No, I had a few Steve mentioned his name.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Kyogo thing was much like that European game when we were on last. They just don't know what to do with him. And people are fooled, by the way, if they think that Kyogo can handle the physicality of the Scottish League, because there was one point during the game where he got fouled, he won the free kick, he walked into the box and he just put his hands up in the air for us to all start chanting. He was smiling. It's like he invites that kind of thing onto himself because he knows he's going to win a free kick, or if the referee does notice it, the attention will be drawn to him anyway. But the likes of Michael Smith, Craig Halkett as well, there was points where they were literally just grabbing him and throwing him over, not throwing him over the shoulder, but over their knees, or tripping him up, or going behind him and getting really close to him. And to be fair to Kyogo, like, he did go down, but he was just pointing out that he got fouled. But as Ross said, he got up and he got on with it. He didn't get involved in any fights or any pushing the shoving matches. He was game for it. He was wanting it. He was ready. And I think, as you said, John, Kyogo is going to torture defences. This is a guy who was fed by Iniesta, who was set up by Iniesta in the Japanese league. Iniesta is miles above anything in the Scottish League in terms of a passing sense, in terms of playing someone through. That's the kind of level Kyogo's at when he's making them runs. And the SPL defenders, including every team in this, by the way, will not be able to cope. And the only measure they'll have is underhand tactics, tripping them up when the referee's not looking, pulling them to the ground when the referee's not looking. But again, as Ross said, I totally agree with you guys. Kyogo's just going to get up, get on with it, and score the goals, and he's going to smash up teams. Simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, I think it's something we can all look forward to. and we can't wait to see how this season progresses. This is excited as for me personally that I've been in a long time, and it's been when you think of the sort of state of last season and the disaster it was and how low we all felt coming into the end of that season and going into this season where I think there was an element of concern or worry. But see now, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, I've forgot about last season already, and I'm absolutely buzzing about this year.
Right.
You feel the same, aye?
Aye, I'm actually, I'm walking about at the minute with the way we're certainly defending for the front and stuff and attacking teams. I'm walking about with a slight hint of smugness.
Well, like you say, it's still a long way to go, but I get it. I understand exactly where you're coming from. And like you say, we've still got a big game coming up at the end of this month. So I'm sure we'll try and get the full panel on it as we do for the derby games. But that's still a bit away, so we'll let's just focus on the here and now. First up, then, is the fact that, well, let's just look at the signings or the lack of defensive signings. We touched on it briefly on Tuesday's episode, but post-match Ange had mentioned that there's definitely guys coming, and we suspect, or at least we're hoping, that it's going to be some point this week. And all reports are saying that Jan Kuto was at a game the other week, and he's desperate, according to Sky Sports anyway, which is one of the main sources for sort of news, because I don't think they generally report hearsay. There has to be a bit of weight behind it, but by all accounts, he's desperate to come up here. So what have you heard, guys? Ross, coming back to yourself, what have you heard? Are you hoping that we sort of wrap a couple more up this week?
Aye, well, as you say, we touched on it last week, and I said that if Ange is saying that we're going to have signings in last week, then I believe him. He did say he was hopeful of giving signings in. I mean, they're obviously working on it. There's no doubt about it. As regards that Kuto, I thought I heard something today that was no happening anymore. I could be wrong there, but I thought that they'd started to turn their attention more towards Juranovic, I think it was. I could be totally.
We're hearing all these different things, but again, I think today I read that, or that's where I was saying about the Kuto thing, that he's desperate to come up here. I think, who was it? He was at an Italian team. Was it Regina or something? I can't remember what it was.
I don't know.
I need to go back and check it, but they're desperate to bring him back. But he's desperate for a move up here, and apparently he's pleading with sort of Man City to let the move to Celtic happen, because this is where he wants to be and he wants to be part of it. So I just read that today, which is why I mentioned it. So sorry to cut you off.
I mean, I'm not saying
Ross.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I mean, I've said
I'm certainly
before,
not saying I'm right, but I'm just...
I don't really fully read up on all the transfer rumours and stuff like that. As I've said before, I like to see the guy coming in and then make my judgments then. But aye, as I say, there's work being done. There's too many people being linked for the key areas that we need for there not to be something in the pipeline. But I think it's a lot of guesswork for the media again as well. So time will tell. That's my favourite saying, I think, on this. Time will tell, but it will really.
Catchphrase, Ross.
I know, but hopefully, if we can. I hate this. I keep saying it. Like, we want another right back. We do want another right back because we've only got one. But Ralston hasn't put a foot wrong, and again, yesterday he was absolutely outstanding. He's worked great, getting up and down that line, coming inside into the midfield. Even like right down to towards the end of it was near the end of the game, and he's bombed down the left hand side, and he's got a toe on it and nicked it by the Hearts player, and he's just been absolutely scythed down. And that was late on in the game, and he's still like playing with that level of energy. So you can't fault that guy right now. You just can't. But back to the signings again. A centre half, I think it looks on the evidence yesterday again that we do need like more help in there, more bodies in there. Obviously we've got Julian to come back. and then again, right up to when the transfer window closes, it's going to be up in the air with Edward. So it's like at the moment, if he's going to be here, then we possibly don't need to get another striker in. But if he is going to go, then I really hope we've got something in the pipeline. It looks like this is it Henry or Henry, whatever it is. He could be coming in, but is it only if Edward goes? Again, we don't know.
I think it's still for insurance purposes, you would bring a guy in anyway, because let's say Edward doesn't go this season, his contract's up end of the year. So, he's risking going for nothing. So then you're in a position where you've not got anybody in. So why not get somebody in to do and bed them in, and give them an opportunity to fight for a place? Because if Edward's still here and he's no firing on all cylinders and he's no sort of pulling his weight, then you've got another guy there waiting and ready anyway. So I think it's certainly, for me anyway, it would make sense to still bring in a striker regardless.
But are they wanting to use the whatever sort of cash they get for Edward to put it towards the other striker? You don't know the financial situation, but I don't know. It's all guesswork, isn't it? But
exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It's like you're right, and the finances might be an issue. But for me, it makes sense, at least. Like when you think about it theoretically, on paper it makes perfect sense. But as you said, finances might be an issue, and you might be banking on the Saley Edward to sort of finance it. Touching quickly on the right back
situation as well, we don't know if he's going to be here either. So it's going to be up in the air right up to the window closes. And it'll be good once it closes, providing we've got some more like bodies in, because then you can start to settle and you know where you are for certainly at least the next 6 months or whatever it is until January. It's not 6 months, about 4 or 5 months maybe to January. It opens up again. So once we get to the end of the window, things will start to settle down, and we'll have a settled team. Everybody will know what they're doing, sort of thing. So that'll be good in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. And what about yourself, Stephen? What's your thoughts and opinions on the current situation?
Well, I think, don't mean to burst your bubble here, but I think one of the players we're missing out on is Thomas Henry. Apparently he's going to Ghent, because Leuven are unhappy with Celtic's approach, which again does that point to Celtic lowball and transfer fees again instead of paying what the player's worth. By all accounts, your man Henry is meant to be a cracking striker, scoring goals for fun for a team that doesn't really get a sniff at any trophies in Belgium, and it looks likely. There's different reports here saying that he's going to Ghent, and that's nearly 95% complete. So we kind of missed the boat in him. Shuto, I've seen the thing where it's saying he's pleading for a move, but again, as Ross said, the last thing I read today, it was dead in the water, and we're turning our attention to the Croatian right back Juranovic from Legia Warsaw, and I think he'd be a better fit than Shuto in terms of his age and his stature in the game, his experience being international for Croatia. I think that'll be a brilliant signing. It's concerning for me that there's been hardly any centre backs linked, apart from Ektura from Manchester City on loan, and a left back as well. I think it's desperate. We do need a left back. It's concerning me that the Celtic board are looking at these different areas of thinking he's doing well for now, we'll keep him there. He's doing well in terms of like Ralston and Taylor. I have nothing against them guys, and I agree with you totally. Ralston and Taylor have done brilliantly, but I think we need upgrades if we're going to progress further in European football, if we're going to challenge on all fronts in the Scottish domestic trophies and things, and we do need backup, especially at right back. I know we'll have Bolingoli and Montgomery who can play left back, but they haven't really featured. Well, Montgomery come on in the weekend there, but in terms of a left back position, I still think we need at least another winger for a bit more depth in there, because you've seen Christie go out and then you have to ship Kyogos over to the left, and I think that's a waste of Kyogos' ability, even though he done fantastically well. I think he's far better in the striker role. We definitely need another striker. Again, as I said, the Henry deal looks dead in the water, so if Postecoglou knows anyone in Japan, please come and have them, please. But I think as well, all these positions won't get filled. I think you might see a centre back and a right back, and then that'll be the business complete until January, and then review it again, obviously with the Christie situation. And in terms of that, I would be happy with that, because they're addressing an urgent need, because we do need another centre back and a right back. 2 more signings at least coming through the door, and then review it in January. But the overall landscape of the team, I would still say we need about 5 or 6 players.
Yeah, I
I'd
think
agree with that.
Definitely, I would agree with that. I mean, it's like you said. That's the first I've heard about the Henry situation. But again, that's paper talk. It's we don't know the extent of it. We don't know the situation that we're all in, and we don't know how far along these deals, if they are actually deals happening, are in place, or if it was never in place at all, and there were just names that were being linked because we all know the media like to just throw names in the hat. And we all know my thoughts on that. So we'll move on.
Swiftly.
Swiftly. But boys, obviously, like you mentioned, and I just want to briefly touch on something, because you said something there, Ross, as well, about Ralston, right back. He's in that position himself, and I don't think we don't really have anybody else that can step in there. And despite that, you'd think they did have competition, because he's been phenomenal for us so far this year, and he's not put a foot wrong. He's been absolutely solid, and that touch up the wing, I've never seen him move like that either. I didn't realise he had that in him, because he's quite a big, like, I mean, you see him on TV, it's one thing, but when you actually see him, he's a big laddie, and for him to move the way he did, and like he says, he was able to, at that stage of the game, he still to get off the mark like that. It was really good to see, and I think that regardless of what happens, any right back that we bring in between now and the window closing, I hope that they're not just chucked in the start for the sake of it, because Ralston's not put a foot wrong, as he says, and he deserves the chance to keep the shot. And whoever it is that comes in needs to work their ass off to make sure that they're actually fighting for it. I don't think it should be automatic. But moving on. So, just Wednesday. I mean, this episode, as we always record it the night before it goes live. So this episode is being recorded Monday, goes out Tuesday lunchtime, which means the following day, tomorrow, if you're listening, is the home leg playoff game against Alkmaar. Obviously, we've seen the sort of lineup against Hearts, and the way we played against Hearts, there was no let up. Ange obviously isn't in the sort of mindset that resting players for bigger and more important games is happening. And we know how important this Europa League qualifier is, and yet just days before it, he's still got his guys 110%, still got the best team possible out in the field. And I think we discussed it in the car on the way through, Ross, about potentially resting players and stuff like that because of the game. So how, just coming into what do you think our chances are come Wednesday, based on what you've seen on Sunday, and the sort of what do you think the lineup's going to look like?
Well, as regards our chances, that I've not seen a lot of Alkmaar. They're certainly no the team that I think they maybe did they win the UEFA Cup in 2002 or something like that. They're no that team, but they'll obviously be a good side, and certainly an upgrade for Jablonet, possibly even an upgrade, if no certainly as good as Midtjylland. So we're under no illusions, I think, always, that it'll be a tough night, and we'll have to work hard to get a positive result. But work hard is what we'll do, because evidently, as we've seen in the last 4 or 5 games, that's what this team is all about, hard work. But as regards the starting lineup, again, I don't think there'll be too many changes. It'll be, for me, probably Hart and goal, the same back four, Taylor, Starfelt, Welsh and Ralston, because that pretty much picks itself just now. And then I think he'll probably just go with McGregor, Turnbull and Rogic. And if I don't know, is Abada going to be fit, do you think? Or he's no?
I'm in the dark, to be honest, about Abada. I thought originally when he got injured that it was a minor thing. He pulled up in training, and it wasn't serious. So I thought him being rested the following game, it made sense because you didn't want to aggravate it. But the fact he didn't feature on the bench or anything at all in the Hearts, which might suggest it's maybe more serious than we originally thought. But I don't know to the extent of it myself.
I'm not sure either. And it's the same with Christie. He just wasn't even on the bench. I don't know if he's picked up a knock either. But if Abada's fit, just say Abada's fit, I'll maybe play him and Forrest and then Kyogos through the middle. You could alternate 2 or 3 boys in that team if you wanted to change it round a bit. But it all depends on the fitness of guys as well. But it'll pretty much be something along the lines, I would imagine. Would you agree?
I would agree with that. Aye.
Well, I mean, I think in terms of the Alkmaar itself, I know you said in terms of like the standard of the team, by all counts they're a good pedigree in the Dutch league, and I think they're probably above a similar standard of Midtjylland. I mean, I think there's no case here for us to go defensive. I think Postecoglou sticks to that style, and it'll be attack, attack, attack. We score more. I mean, there's no away goal or no more, so you might as well just go for it and try and outscore the opponent.
Just a minute, boys.
No worries. I think in terms of the Alkmaar game as well, you have to be kind of mindful that they're probably good on the attack. They're going to probably create chances, so we need to be on the front foot. We need to continue that press, and I don't think we're kind of set up, as I said, in terms of a defensive unit to hold out in terms of not conceding the goal level at the minute. I might be a bit eat my words, but in terms of the lineup, I would say Hart would play, Ralston, Welsh, Starfelt. I was about to say Julian Starfelt. Greg Taylor will play. I can see McGregor, Rodgers, and Turnbull. Same midfield. Adaba, if he's fit. Forrest on the left, and then Adaba up front. Obviously, dropping Edward out of the team. I just think the press works far better. It's when it's Kyogos doing it from the front.
No, I agree with that through the middle. Could you make an argument for maybe starting? What do you call him? McCarthy, and maybe just pushing McGregor maybe further forward?
I'll be honest with you, like I still don't understand why we're saying James McCarthy. I really don't.
I kind of know where you're coming from. I've said it myself previously that I was a bit sceptical about the signing as regards the amount of football that he's played, but I'm just thinking he might be a bit more conservative and just protect that back four a bit more than maybe like a McGregor would, obviously, because this is a slightly better opposition. I don't know if it's what I would go with myself, but you could possibly make a case for that sort of option, maybe.
I mean, I don't know. What about yourself, John? Ross is free on the spanner there to start James McCarthy. Would you be happy with that?
Well, I mean, it's still early days. I think it would be a bit of a risk because he only just played his first game on Sunday there, and he did. What did he get? 20 minutes? About 20 minutes or so. I mean, he didn't look bad, but I think it's still way too early for him to throw him in a game of that magnitude. And who playing?
I mean, I'm not saying it's what I would pick. I'm just we're trying to like fill up a wee space there, but I don't know. You could maybe make.
But it's a valid question.
I mean, to protect the back four possibly, but it's the game time that's the issue, eh?
Aye, it is a game time. It depends where. I mean, Andrew's obviously going to see Miriam than we have, and in training and that, and we'll see. He'll be able to determine what his fitness levels are like. But like you mentioned, if you want to protect the back four, what options have you got? I think if it was me, I would maybe even start my Head of Sorrow, if that's the case. Or even if he's there as a substitute, bring him on a Head of Sorrow. But it remains to be seen because, like I said, we don't know the situation regarding his fitness. Sorry, boys, I had to nip away there quickly. Somebody was at the door. So I missed that. Stephen, what did you say your thoughts were?
Oh, basically what I was saying there, the Ross. I mean, the game against Alkmaar is a different animal. I think it'll be along the lines of the Midtjylland game, and it'll be good to see how far improved, what way the team's going to play. I was saying there, I'm not confident in terms of the defensive unit that we can kind of shut Alkmaar out in terms of them scoring goals. I think there will be goals conceded, but this is what I'm saying. This is where Postecoglou comes into his own. Can we outscore the opponent? Because again, the worry of the away goal rule, that's not there no more. And I'm not saying it's okay to concede 2, 3, 4 goals every match. It's not okay. That needs sorted out. But at the moment, we can see it with our own eyes. There's still frailties at the back. And I think a team like Alkmaar, if they get the chance, will punish us. And I'm not saying Alkmaar are a fantastic world-class team, but they're obviously well organised. They play well in the Dutch league. They finished, I think it was third in the Dutch league as well. So that's quite respectable. And it will be a challenge. And as I said, it'll be interesting to see how far Celtic have come in terms from the Midtjylland game anyway.
Yeah. I mean, for me, they're miles ahead of Midtjylland. I'm not even, there's no point in sugarcoating it. They are.
So.
Definitely. I mean, like you said there, they finished third in the Dutch league last year. I think they had a couple of good results in Europe last year as well. But they finished 1 point behind PSV. Ajax ran away with the league, but they were only 1 point behind PSV, who were in second. And I mean, you can't like that. I mean, the Dutch league's not the best by any stretch, but you like say Ajax, PSV, Alkmaar, Feyenoord, and teams like that. They're well known and they've got European pedigree. And like you said, to finish 1 point solely behind a second place finish, just shows you that they've certainly still got a bit about them. Obviously, like Ross touched on, I don't think they're the same team of old, maybe 15 or so years ago when they were challenging for titles in Europe and making their way in the UEFA Cup and stuff like that. But I still think they're a threat, certainly, and we need to be very, very careful. For me, I still think that there's enough about. I think the way we're playing at the minute, if we can keep that intensity up and we can press them like that, then we could get a good result at home, and we might surprise them, because I don't think they'll be expecting it, and I don't think they'll know how to cope with it, because I don't think it's a style of football that they see in Holland either. So it remains to be seen. I mean, I'm going to remain confident for myself. I think it's going to be largely a very similar lineup to Hearts. For myself, and I think I'm confident that we can come away from home with a win. But again, I'm under no illusions that it's going to be a tough game. Ross, what do you reckon? Or just quick, what do you think the score is going to be?
It's going to. I think that the way, because like you have touched on there, because the away goal rule isn't in play now, I think it's going to sort of suit Celtic the way they play. I think at home it's going to be a very difficult night. I'm under no illusions, but Celtic will go out to outscore every team they play this season. I think I'm going to stick my neck out and go for 3-1.
3-1. What about yourself, Stephen?
6-5. I'm only joking. I'll go 3-2 Celtic.
3-2. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say 3-1. I think there'll be enough that we'll score more than them.
I think we need to take a 2-goal advantage over there as well.
Aye, I was just going to say something similar. I think we need that cushion when we go over there, because I think without it going over to Holland is without that, then it's definitely going to be a lot tougher for us over there than it will be at home. But yeah, like I said, I'm under no illusions that it's going to be a tougher game, and I think that, like you guys said, I'm surprised that you think that maybe they're as good as Midtjylland, because for me they're miles ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't really have much to compare them on. I mean, I'm not a big watch league. I'm going by the types of league finishes and what kind of players they have in their squads. I mean, Midtjylland, I mean, by all counts, they shouldn't be better than Celtic. They shouldn't be beating Celtic, but they did. And Alkmaar are, if not just as good, as you said, they could be better. So it's going to be a difficult challenge. I mean, I think any Celtic fan is aware of that. I mean, where we're at the moment, yes, we've had good wins in terms of against Dundee, the European game against Jablonec, and then obviously on the weekend we played some fantastic football. But we can't be naive and think we're going to go into these games and tear these teams apart when that's not going to happen sometimes.
No, I mean, I agree. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen on Wednesday either. I think we'll see. There'll be enough about us to see a victory, and I think we're going to go away with a 3-1 victory, as I said. But to touch on the Midtjylland, if that game happened at this point of the season, the way we're playing now, we scud them, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And we no, just like it'd be similar result to the Jablonec, I reckon. It wouldn't surprise me if we went away for that with 7-2 aggregate. Because I still think, even despite the fact we lost against Midtjylland over the two legs, I still think we were the better team. Just things when they click in the way they are at the minute. But Wednesday's going to be a different animal altogether, as he says. So obviously we've touched on the game against Hearts, the sort of imminent transfers and the upcoming game against Alkmaar. Obviously that happens tomorrow night. If you're listening today, and we've obviously got was it St Mirren at the weekend? I'm sure we'll touch on that when we discuss everything on Thursday's podcast. But is there anything, just coming to yourself, Ross? Is there anything else you want to add? Anything that you want to just sort of bring up or talk about?
No, not particularly. No, I've sort of covered all bases at the minute, leading up to that game, I would guess.
Aye, short episode then. Nothing else you want to say? Nothing else you want to add? What about yourself, Stephen?
I mean, I just again, I want to reiterate that the atmosphere and the Hearts game was absolutely fantastic, and I mean, it's good to see the Celtic support getting behind Postecoglou. I mean, you have to admit, guys, most of us on the podcast were a bit pessimistic when he got announced. Obviously, after all, the Eddie Howe, just that whole kind of thing, it took ages, and then Postecoglou came in. He was unknown. People weren't going to buy season tickets, but he's managed to turn that around within 5 competitive games. People are starting to buy into his philosophies, buy into the way Celtic are playing. And what I've seen as well, and I haven't seen it for a long time, and this is going to sound funny because there was no fans in the stadium last year, but there's a real connection. Again, I know it's early days, but I mean, Cal McGregor taking the players round, clapping all sections of the support. I think that's fantastic to see because it includes the supporters. They feel included. But again, I want to back that with the message that the board need to get behind Postecoglou and give him what he wants, because this guy, for me, can make Celtic a real force, and that's something I want to see going forward.
Yeah, I'm in firm agreement with that. And I think one of the other things we can all say about Ange is the way he handles the media is incredible as well. He's no, I think one of the worries or concerns, if you go back and listen, was we brought up whether or not how he's going to be able to handle the Scottish media, because we know they were going to try and get under his skin. They were going to ask him questions to try and throw him off, just to get a headline at him, and he's gave them absolutely nothing, and it's fantastic to see. But if that's everything, boys, short episode. Obviously, I want to touch on. We've said now for a number of weeks that we're going to be moving to video, and that is still certainly happening. It's just obviously with everything else that's going on at the minute, it's been delayed slightly, but it is definitely in the works. So hopefully, very very soon. So just keep making sure that you keep.
I think, John, for obviously video and stuff, I'm going to have to buy Ross a wee high chair so we can see him.
Oh,
we're going there, away.
We're all jokers, eh?
But we will definitely get there, boys, and I'm sure. I think by all accounts we're almost ready to go. It's just obviously getting a final few things set up so that the logistics it works for everybody. But again, as ever, for everybody that's listening and supported us and has followed us and continues to discuss things on the YouTube specifically, there's been a few boys who you guys are commenting regularly, and we appreciate it. We love getting involved in those conversations. So just keep that up. Keep chat with us, man. Follow us on our socials. Just get involved in any conversations we're having. And thanks again to everybody for the support. Like I say, it's been a slow rise, but it's been a rise nonetheless. And I think that we owe that to all you guys as well. So thanks a lot for that. And again, Stephen, hopefully you'll be sorted and get back into your hosting chair. I'm sure you're absolutely choking to get back hosting.
Well, I mean, you're doing a great job, man. Do you know what I mean? And I appreciate, obviously, all you guys have said last week. I'm going through some issues at the minute that I just don't feel up to it sometimes, but you guys are bringing it through, bringing the podcast up. You're keeping it going, and I appreciate you all.
I know you do, mate. And like I say, hopefully everything starts to settle down a bit for you, and you can start to move forward again and get back to doing what you do. So, and Ross, again, thanks a lot for coming on again, mate. I appreciate you taking the time out. I know that everybody's got busy schedules and work and everything else. So for everybody, not just yourself, Ross, but everybody else, Anthony, William, Francis, and everybody that comes on and puts the time in, it's like we really appreciate it, and we love what we do. As we always talk about it, and as I say, we had that night out on Saturday, and that'll be the first time money, and it was just great for us all to get together. And onwards and upwards, boys. But thanks again, everybody. Thanks again, Stephen. Thanks again, Ross. And Stephen, I'll let you do the honours again, mate, if you want to handle the outro.
Everybody stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.